that's all about. All right, well, we're going to get kicked off. It looks like there's a few people in here, but I know we've got some good ground to cover. So we're going to dive right in and start with some introductions, and then we'll kind of dive into the questions that we have. So I'll start. So I'm Christy Larson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a straight, white, cisgender female. And I'm the Director of Employer Partnerships at Prime Digital Academy. So I also am going to give you a fun fact about myself. I have over 45 different varieties of plants, succulents, and cactus. So I am a huge plant person. And we had our 17-year-old German short-haired pointer pass away in May. And so plants just started coming. Right? I needed to keep something alive. So it turned out that plants were the next best thing to having a dog. So really excited to be here. I will pass it on to Hassan.
My name is Hassan Shahid, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm a software automation engineer. Fun fact about myself, I am also a musician, singer-songwriter, and performer in the Twin Cities, and I love gigging in the Twin Cities. So, yeah, come check out a show sometime.
You'll have to post a link in the chat so people know where to find you.
Streaming on all platforms, Shahidi. I got you.
I love it. All right, Mary, how about you?
Hello, my name is Mary. I use she, her for pronouns. I am a lesbian. I'm autistic. I have ADHD, and more things on there. So I got all of the little things next to my name. It's great. Fun fact about me: I do a lot of hand sewing because fidgets, yay. So if you see me down here, I am hand sewing a quilt from scratch. That's what I'm doing right now.
Look at you multitasking. That's pretty fantastic, Mary. Kudos to you. Awren.
Hey, I'm Awren. She, her pronouns. I'm all sorts of queer. The most visible one, probably, I'm a transgender woman. A fun fact. I don't know. I like everything. I want to know everything about everything. Probably why I'm a software engineer. I'm also really into herbalism and learning about plants and like the constituents inside of them and how they can be used for different things as well. That's me.
You and we should connect on this plant thing. I like it. Priscilla.
Hi, my name is Priscilla Gyamfi. I identify with she, her pronouns. I am a software engineer, and previously I've had gone through positions where I worked as a software automation engineer in the testing quality assurance space. I identify as a Ghanaian American, as bisexual, as I am also a plant lover, so we should start a little group. Fun fact about me is that I'm named after my mother, so out of all the 10 Priscillas that I met in my life, she is one of them.
Does that make you a junior?
It does, yep. And then another fun fact, my little brother is also a junior. He's named after my dad, so I think they kind of had a thing going there.
And then they were like, now what? We've already used our names. Now we have to come up with some different names.
Exactly.
I love it. How many siblings do you have, Priscilla?
I have 3 siblings.
Okay. So they just had to pick one other one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. I gotcha. Ben, how about you?
Hi, I'm Ben Pollack. I use he, they pronouns. I identify as a gay male. And I am currently a UI designer, straddling both software development and UX. So I kind of work in both worlds. Fun fact about me, I was raised religiously Jewish, but spiritually Hindu. So I have an extremely deeply spiritual side to my life. Practice meditation twice a day. And I have an altar set up in my room with multiple deities across multiple cultures, in full reverence of those cultures. So
That I didn't. I've
It's
learned so
wicked
much
cool.
already today. Yeah. What did you say, Mary? Sorry.
I said that's wicked cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I just learned a lot. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about hiring, onboarding, retaining diverse tech talent, and all of these folks graduated from Prime Digital Academy, and so it was easy for me to find them and rope them in to coming and chatting with you all today. So we're really excited to have them. Thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate everyone being open and comfortable sharing a little bit about themselves. I know sometimes I was trying to think of a fun fact, and I was like, do I have a fun fact about myself? But y'all kind of beat me out of the water on that one. So, but it's always fun to hear a little bit about the folks that are going to be on the panel. So I appreciate it. So we're just going to kind of dive right in. And I think the number one thing I want to ask is how you each individually define diversity and how that shows up with the work that you do, how you incorporate diversity and inclusion in the work that you currently are doing. So, Ben, do you want to start?
sure. So diversity to me is one of those recent buzzword catchphrases that has kind of bubbled up to the forefront, of design talk, of industry talk across, all industries. But to me, it really represents the true, like, diverse nature of every individual who comes through, regardless of what their belief systems are, their race, their color, their creed, basically anything can define you as diverse. And even two people who have, say, the same skin color are as diverse as someone who has a different skin color as them, or they're like, every single person to me is completely diverse. Everyone brings a different voice to an experience. And so in my design, I utilize that a lot with talking to the clients that we work with. I work for a banking company that has a very diverse range of ages, specifically in our clientele, with a lot of clients, 65 plus, ranging all the way down to the new banker at age 18 just opening their first bank account. So it tends to influence our designs when we start looking at what diversity and inclusion means, because there are people who are comfortable with technology, and then there are people who are not comfortable with technology. So we have to sort of adapt our designs to that. So really broad overview of what I feel diversity is, but because it's a very complex concept, but that's kind of how we utilize it in our design at work.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I can go. Yeah, diversity, definitely something that means different things to different people. For me, it's kind of seeing like the inherent value of having different perspectives and points of view, especially a lot of different eyes on like products that like a company's producing and selling, for instance. And yeah, when you have a whole bunch of different people that come together to make something, there will be less blind spots. That's a huge thing that I notice a lot. Yeah, and I guess as far as the work that I do, I've been very fortunate to have worked for a lot of companies that are extremely diverse. And yeah, I've noticed a common thread through there is that all of these very diverse companies put like the user or the customer first. So it's the diversity, I guess, is kind of applied to create the best user experience possible, bearing in mind all of the different types of people, people that are hard of hearing, hard of seeing, people of different cultures, skin colors, other identities. That's what diversity means for me.
Thank you. Hassan?
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I think diversity for me, it's kind of already been mentioned a little bit, but it's people from experiences of all different experiences of life. I think we always, so sometimes it's kind of look at the visual where it's like a race, but there's other people's identities, as well as experiences. And I think diversity is a very vague definition. So it's really whatever people identify for it to be. For me, I think how I did diversity inside of my current workplace. I can't really speak for myself as a software engineer in that sense, but what I've seen inside my work environment, when I got onboarded into my job, I saw that there was advocacy or leadership who came from a diverse background. And I definitely seen from the people that he was pulling into the organization, he was pulling in people who came from diverse backgrounds. And I definitely saw the value of that inside of I got brought in from that way as well, but it was not just me, but also some of the other people he was bringing in were women of color, and also people from non-traditional computer science backgrounds as well. So I think that's important in terms of building that diversity. So, yeah.
There's only two of you left, so Mary and then Priscilla. We'll just go in that order.
I would say diversity to me, very similar to what everyone has repeated, is just the hot mix of all the different ways that we are both similar and different. I also very much agree with Ben that it is the new hot button word that a lot of companies want to just go, rah, rah, we're a diverse workplace. Sometimes they truly are. Sometimes they really miss the mark. I have experienced both sides at companies that I have worked at, past and present. So you really can't. I don't like those labels of we are a diverse workplace, because you can really hit a lot of core marks, like where we actually hired a really lovely human that actually has a background in disability advocacy. And they're really wonderful to work with because they have all of the knowledge that is really helpful in using making accessible code, like with screen readers, because they actually use a screen reader on the daily. So that was really wonderful. But at the same time, like, there are other things at my company that aren't super disability friendly or diverse friendly. So here we mixes.
Oh, then it's my turn. So diversity for me means just having representation of all our differences. And I definitely agree with Hassan here, where there can be visible forms of diversity, like your ethnic background, your gender, or more kind of invisible, like your class, your background, your experiences, your whatever. And currently in my role, I work at a tech or a telehealth startup, and so we have a lot of interesting challenges and things when it comes to making sure that we think about all diverse kinds of patients that we can run into. Like, for example, we've had discussions about making some of our languages more gender neutral so that it's more inclusive, or like kind of creating like a more multilingual experiences for like Spanish speaking populations. So it's also more inclusive, just like thinking about all of those sorts of differences that humans can have, and making sure that we include that in our experience.
Love that. I love putting thought into that because I think it umbrellas so many things, right? That often, if it's not part of our lives or part of our perspective, we don't recognize it. So having all of those voices just amplifies, right? Some of the things that we might not even have, right? The capacity to know how to do. So love that. So for you all, as we're kind of talking about hiring and how companies can kind of put some thought into how to recruit more diverse talent in a wide range of, as we heard from all of you, in a wide range of different ways. What for you, and feel free to chime in, and we don't need to go in order, we can just kind of jump in when we have a response, but what are some factors that are important to you, whether that's like the values of the company, the mission, the organizational structure of the company, are important to you as a candidate when you're looking for opportunities?
Well, I only and exclusively look for remote opportunities. Being like super, super, super on the ADHD spectrum, I cannot work in an office because I will get way too distracted at all the different things, and you will have a very not productive employee out of me. So when I'm looking for a position, I specifically look for remote work because then I can set up my environment that is ADHD friendly, where I have a standing desk, I have a sitting desk, I have a treadmill, I can turn on all the music that I want, I can have all of the things that like make a productive space for my brain. And the place that I work at actually like talked specifically about how we have a budget every year. So if I need to get something for my office, I just say, hey, this is what I need now, and this is going to make me more productive. And a really important aspect of that is they don't question, why do you need this? Give me a doctor's note or anything. It's just like, oh, okay, you're an adult. You can make adult decisions. Here you go, treadmill for your office.
I think a company that really truly values the, like, circling back into the diverse nature, not just like diversity of their clients or of their um, customers or however they label them, but also the diversity of their employees in their individual learning styles, right? Like, so Mary started talking a little bit about that, of like, there are different ways that people can achieve the same goal, and a company that like recognizes that one person may work slightly different than the other, and that the processes that are put in place to ensure productivity for those employees doesn't necessarily quantify specific things along the way that a person with ADHD might have an issue following the set guidelines and deadlines of certain things, but knowing that in the end of, say, a 2-week sprint, you're achieving the goal. It just doesn't matter the path that you took that might weave and duck and dodge around to get there. I think that that's really important. As someone who is also neurodivergent, that is very crucial for me to look for. A company that doesn't micromanage and track everything, mouse movement and keystrokes and things like that. That's sort of an old world thinking for productivity, for quantifying productivity. Those have kind of gone by the wayside, and they're no longer the true measure of productivity and the efficiency of diverse talent. So to me, that those are some of the things that I think companies, and especially the companies that I have worked for in the last couple jobs that I've worked, have been exceptional about accommodating those things.
Piggybacking off of that just a tiny bit, one of the other things that like about the not micromanaging productivity is setting up your own schedule. So we have the same human that knows a lot about screen readers, knows their work brain well enough that they know that they can't work an 8-hour schedule. They'll fizzle out. They just They do not work an 8-hour schedule. So what we have is like, and neither do I, if we're being honest. So what we do is, it's just, here's your 2 weeks to get your stuff done. And then a lot of the time, the two of us will split our days. So I work really like solidly in the morning, take a couple hours off, and then working late at night. So whatever mix works well for you, as long as you're getting your stuff done, really defines like a really neurodiverse friendly space to work in.
I think for me, factors that I look at and I think are important for any company is having leadership that reflects the communities that they're trying to get from. It's one thing to say you want diversity within inside of an environment, but if you aren't grooming your candidates and your diverse candidates to be inside leadership roles and hold roles of power, but you're not really like looking for diversity for the long term, because if you're not, making sure that you're creating pathways for them to actually grow in a company and to foster and actually have a say. And I just seen that within inside my environment. When I was applying for work, I was struggling to find my role for various reasons, but where the opportunity came from, there was somebody who came from a similar background as me in a director role who managed multiple other teams as well. It was like, give this guy a chance. And I think that's something that's powerful. And if you're not doing that same thing and empowering people from diverse backgrounds to be in that, then you're not going to really create a pipeline of diversity. So, yeah.
I just want to reiterate what Hassan just said, because I'm sure most everyone here as well looks at the leadership, and if it looks like the same like one or two people, a lot of us might not even apply, because we're like, well, if we wanted to even grow to that level, it would be impossible given what we're seeing. And if that's the leadership, are we even represented that well in the company? People that hold our similar identities. And then also switching gears a little bit, Ben had mentioned like the productivity and like mouse tracking and stuff. That is also a thing that I look at. I mean, you might not really know that from a job description or an interview process, but you can certainly tell from conversations with people there if they feel more like cogs in the machine, or like a really sterile, almost robotic feeling to like the job description and the interview process, versus a more like human-centered approach where the people interviewing you actually seem like human beings, like individuals with unique personalities. And it's not just seeming like it's about numbers, and obviously you gotta make some numbers, you gotta meet some deadlines. But I've worked with people that are a little bit slower at getting things done, but they are super great to work with, and they raise the productivity of everybody around them. And so trying to suss that out during the interview process, or even just when messaging, contacting, calling, whatever, some people that already work at the company. That's something I look for.
Yeah, I love everything that was just said. Something that I'll notice sometimes with like job postings is when a company is looking for a tech talent and they specifically want like a bachelor's degree, I think that kind of really narrows it down, because a lot of times people that come from underrepresented backgrounds don't all go through the same way, and most people don't. Everyone kind of goes through their own way, and kind of keeping your mind on just like, okay, we could source candidates from all backgrounds to really represent our company is always a good thing to think about as well.
I also, and to like piggyback off what Awren said, two questions that I frequently ask an interviewer that actually I got from our dear Christy, because everything she says is golden nuggets. Um, the two questions are basically, what is a typical day in the life? That question, while seemingly like very broad and open, can open a lot of doors and windows into what the company culture actually like holds dear. And then I always follow that up with, how does your company track productivity? Because it's a very like seemingly open question, but the interviewers themselves will tend to reveal a lot of things about how they view productivity. There are times when I've gone through an interview and asked, how do you track productivity? And they start talking about statistics and numbers and all of that. And then I'll jump in and be like, well, how do you get those statistics? And then it comes out, oh yeah, we do key tracking, and we do like logs of your searches and things like that. And I'm like, okay, this is not for me. Like, that's not the kind of environment that's going to foster productivity in me. In fact, it's going to do the opposite and cause me to want to be less productive. So then using those questions are ways that like I can kind of suss out exactly what those sort of methods are. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things too that we talk about is for folks that are job seeking and looking for a role, right? There's only so much that you can see. There's only so much that's visible, and it's very similar to employers when they're have an open role, right? There's only so much about you that they can see, right? So one of the things that I kind of have a question on, and this is might be a little high arching, so stick to maybe one or two points because I'm sure there could be millions of things. But when you all are looking, and this is kind of pulling probably from your examples, but what can companies do to recruit diverse tech talent, but also to showcase some of the things that some of the initiatives, some of the things that they may have, and that might be, their leadership team, posting photos of their leadership team, or posting photos of a retreat that they went to, or it might be something that's baked into the job description. That's not a hard requirement by law that you have to put it in there, right? So, kind of that, what can folks do to recruit folks like yourselves?
I'm gonna just go first on this one. I think if companies are looking for diverse candidates and to create pathways for them to be present, I think that's one thing I've seen, especially in the software engineering space, is that a lot of the candidates that are coming through, especially from Prime, are coming from non-traditional approaches and are looking to get like early experience and may have some IT experience or tech experience in the past, but it's just making that transition from entry-level roles that are expecting 3 to 4 years of experience. I think you need to have entry-level pathways actually for them to get that junior experience, and through that also advocate for, we're looking for diverse candidates. And I think that's actually put that inside the job description. Why not? Because that definitely makes it more appealing, and lets people know that that's what they're looking for as well. So I think maybe getting a little aggressive from that standpoint could attract candidates as well, but also going into the communities that you're looking to represent, and maybe going to schools, actually going into community centers of various different communities, or throwing a event within inside your organization and bring leaders from those communities, you know what I'm saying? And actually market for those communities. So I think those are steps that I think companies can take to try to get that type of talent that they're looking for. So
I think this is becoming more of a popular thing, specifically in job descriptions, but great companies, the ones that I've like met and talked with, and like, I really want to work here. And you're not only are you saying that you're diverse, but you're like showing it when I talk to you in front of when I'm actually interviewing with you, is when they have the paragraph at the bottom of the job description that says, we recognize that not all of these things are possible, and we really want people from a lot of different backgrounds. So if you do not meet all of these requirements, please still apply. And then they give an email address of an actual human where, no, I probably don't have all of the things to be a solutions architect, but they have the thing, I can reach out, I can still try. And they, encourage, no, we are all coming from different backgrounds. If you think that you are still going to be a good candidate for this company, apply. I really enjoy companies that do that. My company did that, and I'm still here.
I think also to Hassan's point earlier, when leadership is visible, when leadership is approachable as well, it's a lot easier for smaller startup companies for that to happen. But even in my current role, which is at a larger corporation, my upper management is fully accessible at all times. Like, I can reach out to them, I can Slack them, I can message them in WebEx, and they will always find time to respond. And that goes all the way up to almost like, I think I've reached out to like the vice president of the company, which it's a huge company. So the fact that I was able to connect with the vice president of the company, who is a woman, diverse, talk about diversity for a major corporation like that, when it's really banking has typically been a old white guys club. It's really fascinating to me that leadership can be accessible. Reach out to them if in the interview process, if you're going through and they talk about their leadership being diverse, then it is perfectly okay to even just say, separate from the interview, is it possible to have a chat with them? I'd love to get their perspective on the company as well. And if they're truly diverse and truly like accessible, then they will say yes in a heartbeat, hands down. They'll want to meet with you.
So, job descriptions, that is a huge gatekeeping thing, in my opinion, that I don't think gets talked about it nearly enough. So, like, something that seems as innocent as saying, like, must be able to stand for 8 hours or whatever, is inherently exclusionary, because there might be some really great candidates that can't stand that long, but they can be stationary. However, whatever they got going on, they can be there, they can be present, they can be doing the job. But just having the word stand in there makes them think, oh, they won't want someone like me because, I got my stuff going on. Another thing is gendered language. Like, pronouns is one thing. You don't see, or at least I haven't seen a ton of that in my job searches in the recent past. But like, female coded and male coded words is rampant and horrible. Like, more male coded words could be like using words like aggressively pursues whatever, or like decisively does this. And that might be keeping you from getting really great talent. On the flip side of it, putting in some words that are like whatever, like support, the blah blah blah, or like nurture, support, like empathy. These are all more like female coded in our society words. So if you include words like that, there might be some people on the other side that you're excluding. And it's a really interesting chess game, I think, of finding the right combination of words to attract the biggest pool of people. Yeah, and like, I wish that we discussed that more. Like, people always talk about resumes and how to make your resume awesome, but I don't see a whole lot of talk about how do you make job descriptions awesome, you know? So there's a lot of opportunity there. I don't have all the answers. I just know there's a lot of work that could be done.
I recently saw a TED Talk actually by this. I don't even know what she would classify her like job as. I think she called it like linguistic archaeology or something like that. But her name is Lena Boroditsky, and she did a talk on how language shapes the way we think and how it affects our decision making, which was kind of fascinating to Aaron's point of, you know, gendered language is something that is so like different across multiple cultures. Like for instance, in Spanish, they would normally use, I think it's like feminine based words for how to describe a bridge as being like beautiful or, you know, graceful or elegant, whereas in German they use masculine sounding words. So that bridge is strong, that bridge is tough, that bridge is, you know, hard. And so those definitely have an impact on how we think about, especially a job description. When you're looking at it subconsciously, that's even affecting how we're thinking about the job. And, you know, we don't even realize that that's impacting the way we're reacting to a job description. So yeah, to Aaron's point, like that is something that we don't talk about enough and is crucial.
Priscilla, do you have anything you'd like to add before we move on?
Basically just to repeat what Ben and Awren said about the job descriptions, like that is huge because that's the pipeline to get your talent. And so making sure that you go over that and maybe even have multiple people look at it to make sure that you have that diverse just kind of review of it to make sure it sounds good and like everything. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too in hearing what you all are talking about is, you know, if they have that affinity group or that team of people that has volunteered to help in any way they can to make, you know, that community or that organization a more diverse organization, is creating job descriptions and bringing it to them, right? And saying like, give us feedback. We want feedback. We want to make this better. And I think that's one of the things that companies often don't want to, you know, it's expensive, it's time, it's, you know, whatever the excuse is. But I think if they start to get it right, then it starts to get right. Then it just continues that way, right? And it becomes something that would draw you in. You'd want to have a conversation, right, with those folks. So super interesting, really, really good takes. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree on job descriptions. I think they can make or break a candidate, right? They can say, yes, I'm gonna apply, or no, if this is the front that they're showing right now, this is not a place that's for me. So I think it definitely is something that companies need to put more time and energy in. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. We're going to move into kind of onboarding a little bit. We've talked a little bit about hiring and recruiting and getting diverse tech talent in, but can you all share a little bit about what your beliefs are when folks are onboarding new folks or diverse, you know, new diverse tech talent or talent in general? What factors are important for them to keep in mind as they are onboarding? And I think, Mary, you kind of spoke to this with your environment and really making sure that you're set up for success, knowing how you work. But what are some things that people can recognize or be aware of or do to support onboarding new hires in that space?
I think one thing that's really crucial, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is that there are many different processes for how people can achieve a goal. And so explaining the end idea, the end goal of what you want that process to achieve, whether it's through a, you know, a UX design piece, you say this is the end piece that we want to get to. How you get there doesn't have to be an A to B to C like direct process. You can say this is the process that we've kind of established so far, you know, but these give a couple different options for how that process can occur, taking into consideration the diverse ways that people's brains function and think and operate, and that not everyone is, you know, neurotypical. Not everyone is, you know, normal, I guess, is what they're calling it these days. It's this idea that you could have 100 different people all doing 100 different processes, and they'll all reach the same goal in the same amount of time, and that can really play a big factor in onboarding. That if you're just thrusting processes at your employees without really taking into consideration that they might be thinking about this process a little differently, that can be a hindrance to their productivity and their ability to get to the end goal.
So for me personally, I hate training videos. I just detest them. I can't stand videos. Give me an article so I can read through it all much quicker than a video probably. I can, you know, Command F or Control F and find like things that I want to learn more about without having to skip through a video. And I like being onboarded by several people. Give me a bunch of different people in the department that all show me, you know, different things so I can get to know people and how they work, and they can get to know how I work right away up front. Yeah, I think that for me, again, this is just for me, those are probably the most important things for onboarding.
I'm going to chime in on that because, and this goes back to the lessons of TikTok that was on the stage earlier. You know, delivery methods are really important, right? Some people might geek out about a training video, whereas somebody else might want an article, whereas somebody else might want, you know, it to be in podcast form, like so many different things. I think sometimes that's one of the things too, that when we are onboarding, right, there's a lot, it's overwhelming. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to take in. And it's not just your day to day, but it's the company culture, and it's the, you know, the work environment, or whatever it might be, the parking every day, or, you know, getting there every day, whatever that might be. And I think, you know, making it as simple for a variety, a diverse group of people to do what works best for them in that mode. I'm going to shut up because I'm not on the panel, but, you know, I always have something to say.
I think we all love when you talk, Christy. I think for me, it's really just meeting the person where they're at. I think taking the time to have those conversations to figure out what their needs and expectations are early, to see what they have an idea what their job is, and then also provide them the tools to succeed during the onboarding process. I mean, we all know there's tons of tools that is going to be presented to you. So making sure they have what they need to succeed. I remember when I was first starting with my role, like I actually learned this from Prime, but I had them record every meeting for like the first 3 weeks. Every interaction, I just asked them like, we just record the session? So it was like a place of accountability, and I wasn't taking notes during the meeting. I was just asking questions. Afterwards, I went back and I watched the videos and took notes on that. And that's how I did every meeting for like 3 weeks until I felt comfortable with the information that I needed. So it's really about figuring out what a person needs and then adapting to them. And the team was very receptive to that. It worked. We got the job done, and I'm still there today. So it's different for everybody. I think everybody's learning experience and how they gather information is going to be different. And I think taking the time and creating a culture of questions, I think, is important, and not expecting that they know everything right away. And I think if you create a place where do you have questions for me? And then I ask some questions as well, and just have that conversation culture early in the beginning of the onboarding process. It creates an open space where it's like, I'm a resource to you. And I think it was also iterated earlier, is having leadership from different avenues talking to them. So you have, maybe you don't feel so comfortable talking to that person yet because it's still awkward communication. So you may feel more comfortable talking to somebody else. So having different lines of communication of leadership that is grooming a person through the process. So those are some things I think could be useful in retaining diverse talent from all aspects of life. So.
Yeah, I feel like onboarding is such a multifaceted thing. Like, it can be really difficult to get down. One of my favorite onboarding experiences was actually during the pandemic, like in the beginning. And I feel like this company got it completely on point because they shipped out my computer ahead of time. So I had everything ready. I had all the apps ready to go. During the first week, it was sitting with the HR director with like 4 of the people that started the same day that I did, kind of meeting with every single department and learning about the departments and being able to ask questions and virtually. And immediately, like, we were able to kind of have a sense of like a group feeling, because like, oh, it was me and 3 other people. So we started together so we could kind of ask each other questions and message each other. And in addition to that, we also got buddies that we could talk to every week. We set up a meeting every week just to talk about work stuff or not work stuff. And this is another avenue where we could just ask someone questions if we wanted to. And it just made me feel really supportive right off the bat, and gave me a really good feeling about it. And just, I was ready to work because I was like, okay, yeah, you see me, you support me, you want to help me succeed here, and you want to do everything possible to make that happen. So.
Echoing what a lot of people said here, everyone thinks differently about onboarding and everyone learns differently. So something specific that companies can do to create a wide variety of onboarding experience that can help retain your diverse talent is every company has like the goals of all the different meetings and all the different things that you're doing. You probably want to help set up their environment. You probably want to introduce them to all the different departments and then learn what it is that you're building and how we're going to build the thing, or what tasks we're going to accomplish. What a neurotypical person may need is going to be very different from a neurodiverse person. So like for me, what would have been the most helpful setting up my onboarding experience would have been, show me my product first. What is it that we do here? Why are we all here? And previously onboarding at my company, that was something that we learned like the second week, was like this like 2-hour, like, let's actually learn about the product. And I was like, no, but like, I'm meeting all these different products that are like talking about the thing. I don't understand the thing yet. And it actually really impeded my onboarding experience because I didn't understand the goal of why we had 80 people at this company and we're all getting paid to do something. I don't really understand what we do yet. Help. So maybe instead of like a rigorous procedure of we're going to do this and then this and then this, it's like bullet points. We need to do these things. What order is it going to be best for you to do the things? Another thing that was really helpful in my onboarding experience, similar to what Priscilla was saying, was I also had a little group of people that I was hired, given an offer on the same day, accepted an offer on the same day, and then was hired on the same day. It was fun. And it was 2 engineers and then a director that was in this group. So it's like they didn't delineate between this director, our direct boss actually was started the same day that the 2 other engineers started, including myself. And we were in a little mini breakout group with that director. So it was like instant, oh, we're all on the same page here. You're not breaking him out and making him feel really special because he's a director and we're just engineers. Like, nope, we're all going to be in that little pod together. And that was super helpful. We also had weekly meetings, both set up with like another engineer that was a more senior engineer. So then I actually had someone that was related to my work One of the support persons that was also in that little group had a mentor on the support team that did the thing. And then we also had an additional meeting that was outside of our department. So I was paired with someone that was actually on like the marketing side of things because I had a background in marketing. So like I got to meet with someone that was on my team that actually could help me do my job. And then someone that was outside of my team, but that could help me get an idea on the rest of the company at large.
Yeah, love that. I wish we could do this a lot longer. I'm learning so much from you all and your different experiences and all the unique pieces that people have pulled out. So because we're running up to time, we're gonna switch now to retaining. And I think the interesting thing is many of the things that we've talked about throughout the candidate experience, right? From the marketing that the company does with job descriptions, the recruitment side, to the hiring, the questions that you all are asking in your interviews, and the way those interviews are conducted, to how you were onboarded, all I think plays such a huge part in the retaining side, right? Because if you start off and you are onboarded and it's not going very well, you learn a lot about that company. And often that means I'm going to stick around for a while, but I don't know that I can do this for long term, right? So I think just that whole stretch from the very, very beginning plays such a huge part. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in that retaining side of it, right? Keeping those employees there because they spent a lot of money to get you there, right? And so how do companies, what can companies do, or what types of things are important, do you believe, to keep you happy, keep you there, keep you working for that company? And it might be something as small as weekly meetings, like Mary was saying, or it might be something that's a little bit larger scale, right? Investing more in your professional development, or investing in home office equipment, or things like that really I think play a part in why people stay where they are. So we'll go through this fairly quickly, and then we're gonna leave them with some parting advice. So who wants to start?
I can start. Sorry, my camera's down. I tried switching it. I had to unplug it to plug in my charger, but it has a green light on my screen, like my camera's on, but I don't believe it is.
I can hear you just fine.
What's that?
I said we can hear you just fine.
You can hear it. That's good. Yeah. So retaining talent. Number one. Okay. Zero tolerance policy on harassment, racism, any of those things. All right, because nothing will make somebody leave faster than seeing people who are abusing them at work through words or actions be enabled, or at least not punished or reprimanded to some degree for their actions. And depending on the severity of it, it could be like, a verbal warning the first time or something, and then the person knows, and there is absolutely no reason for it to ever happen again. I've left companies because of things like that, where nothing was happening. I was making complaints. I was bringing it up as, aggressions, not microaggressions, but aggressions were happening, and I was seeing absolutely nothing happen. So lo and behold, I'm at a new company.
Can I chime in on that?
Yeah,
Because I think there's something really important with that. I think there is anonymous reporting has to be a thing, right? Because with what you're talking about, hands down, 100%. But if you're not comfortable reporting that because you are afraid of the repercussions of that, I think that's something 100%, Awren. I'm like totally with you on this. Sorry to interrupt.
You are fine. Yeah, so that's my big one. That's number one. I'll leave it at that.
I got two parts. Part one would be creating that environment where you don't have to consistently out yourself is great. Where it's just like, I'm gonna Someone that identifies as a lesbian, like I'm constantly, when I'm onboarding, like looking through Slacks, does someone else mention that they're gay? Is it okay? Can I mention that I'm going over to my girlfriend's because that is what you asked me what I do? Can I say that? Can I say that I'm going over to my girlfriend's? So just creating that environment where it's like, no, I asked you what you're going to do. Oh, you're going over your girlfriend's? Great. I've outed myself once. And then I don't have to do it again and again and again and again. It's just like, oh, how was your weekend? You went over to your girlfriend's. Great. Okay. That's it. The second one would be just as a neurospicy person, having a manager, a direct supervisor that is very understanding of all of the things that it comes with being neurospicy. That doesn't mean that they have to have a disability themselves, but just being understanding. Like the first time that I was having a little bit of an autistic burnout at my company because I was onboarding and 3 weeks in, I was like, I'm so tired. He just was like, take the rest of the day off. Just take the rest of the day off. I was like, I don't have PTO. We have unlimited PTO here. Go take the day off. And then a month later, I was feeling a little ill because I had a migraine. And he was just like, you don't have to work today. Go take the day off. Take care of yourself first, because when you are at 100%, you're going to give 110% back to this company. I need you at your best so you can do your job. It's not going to help if you are constantly trying and trying and trying. So like having a manager that encourages me to take time for myself and for my mental health, amazing. And I don't want to leave because I have a manager that is just so understanding of all of that stuff.
I think I'll go for it.
Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead, Ben. I can wait.
Oh, I was just going to tag off what Mary said, that like it is so crucial to know your employees and understand what makes them feel valued. Employee appreciation, we talk about like employee appreciation, especially in big corporations, but employee appreciation means something different to each person. What makes me feel valued within the company is different than what someone else is going to feel makes them feel valued. And so my company like even sent out a survey of like a whole list of things of like, what do you love? What food do you love? What treats do you love? What's your favorite pet? What's your favorite thing? And like they just every so often will just send out things specifically targeted to me of like, these are some of the things that I love. And they know that because they actually took the time to like get to know me a little bit more, even though I am just a UI designer, at the sort of lowest ladder rung, but my managers are all asking, constantly, what can we do to like make this better? And in the same way that we like talk about love languages in our relationships, like that's a pretty valid thing to how someone can feel valued. And one of mine is like gifts. And so I'm constantly, even working from home, like just getting little gift cards and like things like that, like that help make me feel like I'm completely valued. Or words of affirmation, like I get people saying, oh, thanks for the great job, or you're really great to like interact with in this way. And like it just, employee appreciation goes such a long way. And it doesn't just mean like pizza party, right? Like it doesn't mean just like the cookie cutter, cut and dry. You can diversify how you appreciate your employees in such a way that they feel truly valued. And like I was saying to my coworkers the other day, I was like, I honestly like hope that they continue to extend my contract, because I want to be at this company like long term, because it truly values me as a person, not just as an employee.
I love that. Priscilla, we're at time, but if you have something quick, I'd love to hear it.
Hassan was actually going to go next before Ben, if you wanted to go ahead.
Oh,
Hassan.
yeah.
Sorry, Hassan.
I'll try to keep it short, but Yeah, I think a couple points I wanted to make was there was a conversation that was inside these meetings to talk about what's the difference between mentorship and sponsorship, and it's basically the difference is that sponsorship, the leadership is advocating for the people that they're advocating for, instead of mentorship is just more the mentee listening to the mentor, and I think that's what we need is more advocacy of figuring out what are the needs of the people inside the roles, right, coming from the diverse communities, and figure out what they want. What future do they see themselves inside the company? Is the company training for leadership? Are you training diverse candidates? And also, are you investing into their development within your company? And and what they want to do? Maybe they're in one department, but they have goals to be somewhere else. How are you pipelining them to that? And I think if you're not taking the initiative to actually have those conversations, and the leadership is taking time to actually have those individual one-on-one conversations and checking in with the diverse candidates, and how can we make this a more environment where you want to grow and foster, and actually catering to their needs and actually taking care of them, then I mean you're gonna how is the candidate gonna want to stay in long term? So one is like, if they want to be in a leadership role, empower them, give them the skills and tools so they can do so. Because if you do so, they might actually be able to identify things that can make it a more diverse environment, or things that can actually contribute to that environment itself. I think those are all good points. I'll leave it at that. So
Yeah, I definitely think just being inclusive, giving employees the tools and appreciating them, and showing them that you value them and their time, which is a huge thing. I really like companies that have unlimited PTO policies, because it just shows that you value that person's time. To like, this isn't just a, contract for your time. This is like, you can choose to have your time however you want. I just really like that. So having just all-encompassing approach to that, I think is really important.
I love it. You all are so fantastic, and I so love seeing your faces. So don't be strangers. Hit me up on Slack. And thank you to everybody who was here today. These fine folks are probably, I know a couple of them took the afternoon off. So, but if you are at Finnegan's, hit up Hassan. He's there somewhere. He's hiding somewhere in a room. So thank you everyone so much for coming. We appreciate it. See ya.
Bye.
take care.